Has anyone heard from Kyle? Kyle? Are you around? Kyle, are you alive?
Huh? Oh, maybe I'll call him. Same thing. Text message?
Drunk voicemails don't count, Blaine.
Kyle, are you alive? Are you coming back to BBA? Well, of course I am. How's your knee doing? Not so great. Let's see here. Kyle, how's it going with your new truck and the little dog? This is a good start.
Yeah.
I'm on a roll. All right.
I'm going to go work on my sled.
All right, everybody, welcome back. We, if you're surprised that this is the fourth podcast of the year, I am too. It is. Let's see here. We're 1 week prior to Christmas week already. It's flying by. I've got my two partners in crime. I've got Blaine and Kyle here next to me, and it's been a pretty crazy start to the season. Blaine has not seen the light of day since our Black Friday sale.
Oh, I'm ready to go ride snowmobiles.
We're ready to go ride snowmobiles. Kyle, we're gonna touch base with you a bunch. People kind of like, well, I got this one. Kyle's either riding a skidoo, he's not working for you anymore, or he's dead. Your summer schedule is quite the schedule, isn't it? Why don't you, well, first of all, hi, good morning.
Good morning.
And people have been wondering how it's been going. Obviously, we're super pumped to have you back here in the shop doing what you do. It's a full-time job for me to just keep you busy because you get shit done too quick. So how's it been, man?
Oh, pretty good.
Oh, pretty good. All right, let's back all the way up. All right, so for those of you who don't know, last year towards the end of the season, Kyle had a fairly bad get off on the sled. Something super stupid, which really sucked, a mile from the truck, trying to limp a sled back that you ended up failing a ski rubber, and which, in that type of snow, those conditions can be common, right? That's why we carry them in the bag, and we replace them. The load's got to go somewhere, but why don't you tell a little bit of the story here?
Yeah, we were up the day after Bear Lake, the second Rimshaw race at Bear Lake, and we were up the day after, we're just riding on a Sunday, and we had a really sick, super gnarly day. And
who are you riding with?
Luke Rainey, Caden Rainey, Andy Thomas, Cole Thomas, Tanner Thomas. So the Thomas clan and the Rainey clan.
So you guys are kind of not really able to go into the real technical stuff, but no, I can't imagine how fun that ride had to be.
Yeah, they're animals. So we had a really sweet day, and literally coming out at dark, I get down to the trail, spit out a ski rubber, and I spit out a ski rubber 100 yards from the trail, and hop on the trail. We're a mile and a half from the truck, and the trail was freshly groomed, so I wasn't really worried about tucking a ski. So Andy literally he goes, you want to change that quick? I'm like, no, I'll be fine. And we take off.
What does Andy know anyway?
Yeah, we're a half a mile from the truck now. My sled's only 135 degrees, so would have been completely fine too. And I just
you don't think about these couple of details every single day, do you?
Oh yeah.
Damn
it. Just drop off the edge of the trail just a little bit and
to cool the sled.
Yeah, pin it just to suck up some snow, and literally just switch the weight to my left hip and just literally put the weight on my palm. And I've crashed a lot of stuff, and usually you have that half a second where you're like, oh, yep, this is not going to work out. And that one, it was just instant whack, I didn't even see that coming over or nothing, and tumbled pretty good down the trail. Didn't really know kind of where I was at or which way I was up. And I remember coming to a stop, and normally I've hurt and crashed a lot. I've hurt a lot of things and crashed a lot. when it hurts right away, you know you're in trouble.
You don't have the delay of, I think it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
Yep, it's hurting. It hurt right away.
Yeah, I've finished dirt bike races with broken arms before, and to feel the pain that I had in my knee instantly, and I was like, yeah, this is not good. And it actually felt like it was more so above my knee. It almost felt like my femur a little bit, but I think that was just from the hyperextension and tearing stuff apart. And Tanner Thomas was right behind me, and he was pretty freaked out, and my watch was going off, gonna dial 911 and stuff in my phone, and he was he was pretty nervous. And but yeah, it took me a minute probably kind of to get up, and then I'm like, well, maybe we can walk this thing off, and I'm hobbling around, and now Andy's come back, and he'd already been to the truck waiting for me, and he comes back, and he's like, what in the world happened? And I mean, probably I don't know how far behind us. You could see right where that ski just went straight down, and the spindle almost drove right into the edge of the icy groomer path. So it just was like hitting a wall. But it endoed me, was what it did basically. And I probably went 50 feet before there was even a mark in the trail because it caught so hard. And I mean, it flung my tunnel bag probably 80 yards into the meadow on the other side. Didn't even roll out there. You could just literally it went out and buried itself right in the meadow. But yeah, the track came off the rails. I mean, it was pretty.
You did it good.
It was a pretty good wreck, and I remember them guys got it all together. I was kind of, I don't know. I've only passed out one other time, but I was trying to help put my track back on, and Andy kept yelling at me to stop. He'd get it, but I remember I'm like, I might have to go lean over there for a minute, zip my coat down. I'm sweating. I'm like, oh,
you got
this is going to be close. And I held it together, but
you didn't pass out?
No.
Oh shit! I'm such a pansy. I freaking so when my shoulder popped out, it's just a separated shoulder, right? And I'm just sitting there. I'm doing the whole dang, dude, this is not good. And then that feeling comes over, and I'm just telling everyone around me, I'll be right back.
And that's what I told Andy too. I'm like, if I tip over, don't freak out. I'll be back. I'll be back in a minute. And anyway, we get back to Andy's house, and we're kind of going. He's like, let's ice it. I think, and then hopefully it's just a stinger and be good in the morning. And I'm like, well, yeah, I hope you're right. But anyway, it was, I mean, very tender. And next morning, I got up right away and went to the urgent care or whatever in Afton. And I go in, I'm like, yeah, I hurt my knee yesterday snowmobiling. I need to get it looked at. And go back to the room, and he comes in and does does this hurt? Does that hurt? I'm like, yeah, it all hurts. And anyway,
if you touch me one more time,
he's like, well, give it a week, ice it, and give it a week, and if it still hurts, come back in. I'm like, no, that's not why I came here. And he's like, well, we can do an X-ray if you want. And I'm like, yeah, at least an X-ray. And did an X-ray and found out my tibia was broke at least. So that was good enough reason for me to go to a real doctor and get an MRI, and then found out it was really tore up, not just a little bit tore up.
So you ended up ACL, MCL, meniscus, and tibia.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Didn't even do your femur, pussy.
No.
Gosh dang, dude. So, all right. So you get that prognosis. You're like, obviously, in my mind, that would say, okay, your snowmobile season is done. But you're kind of a dumbass.
Or maybe you should at least use the crutches the doctor gave you. You're in here walking around the shop like nothing happened.
Well, I had stuff to do.
You're a tough mother.
All right, so this was end of February, and
End of,
it was closer to March, right?
yeah, I think it was March 13th,
Okay, yep.
10 days before Jackson.
10 days before Jackson. And this is a little crushing, right? And we talked about this last year, right? You were all prepared for Jackson. All your sleds were ready, mentally ready to go, riding good, all this stuff, right? And then all this happened. So this is a little bit of a recap to kind of get you guys who didn't know what happened to Kyle. That it was pretty bad, really bad. So talk about, so there was all this stuff, right? gimping around here in the shop. You go to Jackson, you're like, you're freaking an animal out there walking up and down the hill, getting everybody's sled dialed. Unfortunately, you didn't compete at Jackson, but had to be. It's not as rewarding, but sure as had to feel good that all the hard work you put in there. I mean, the players team absolutely kicked butt, and not what, I got to go there this year. Blaine, you were up there too, and
yep.
We were watching everything, right? And not one of those people in the pits that came up to me, the first words out of their mouth were like, "Thank God Kyle's here." Right. And yeah. I'm like, I know, that's what I say every time. We both say that every time we walk in the door here at BBA.
And
right?
The second thing they said is, why aren't you racing?
Well, that was the second thing, which that was a whole nother story. And hopefully that all comes, hopefully we get that put to bed this year and we get to go have some fun. But so, you had fun there. Then you did end up getting on the snowmobile when Kosturki was here. You just couldn't stand it any longer.
Yeah. So I buzzed home after I got my surgery and everything lined up and done with Jackson. Buzzed home to kind of get my stuff organized there because I was going to be pretty laid up because I was having surgery in Colorado. Mm-hmm. And then I came back to button some stuff up in the shop. And like that, I remember that after hearing you guys come back the first day, I'm like, I got to get out there tomorrow. So I got after it pretty hard the next day in the shop. I didn't even tell these guys. Got after it pretty hard in the shop the next day so I could get it try to get everything wrapped up by a decent time. And I'm very good at setting unrealistic goals, and I'm like, I'll be out on the snow by noon. And no, I wasn't. But 3 o'clock, I remember I'm like, oh, fine, I won't go. It's probably a better idea anyway. I have surgery tomorrow. And
tomorrow.
probably a better idea. I shouldn't go. And anyway, I kind of went back and forth, and then finally I'm like, screw it. I went to Andrew's locker, stole his bib, stole your coat, stole your snowmobile, your truck. Yeah. Just stole everybody else's stuff. Had to grab a brand new helmet because you got a tiny head.
Yeah, I do.
Or I got a big head. And stole a brand new helmet and trucked up there to St. Elmo, followed the tracks in, and ran into you guys and kind of just rode around one-limbed for a while. But it was worth it.
It actually was worth it. That was, just such a badass day, and It was dumping snow. The conditions were awesome, and watching you like literally, peg-legged out there and still just like, I don't know. I was pissed off that you were up there, but at the same time, I was like, it's good. It didn't feel right being in that zone. It's like the team aspect. It didn't feel right being in there without you. And we were all doing. It's like it's towards the end of our season. We save these zones for these particular days, and so I was mad at you, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
Hold on. While we have a second, while we're doing some trailside maintenance here, Kyle Pulsiver.
Don't tell my mom.
You are an idiot. I mean, you're like my favorite idiot, but what are you doing here?
I had some shit to do in the shop this morning, and I looked at the clock and it was 2:20, and I'm like, yeah, I can be riding by 3. So I put your coat on, somebody's bibs that were on the shelf, Andrew's
everything else.
I grabbed a brand new helmet, Andrew's tunnel bag, and your snowmobile. And your coat.
Oh, and my truck.
Oh, yeah, and your truck. I came up to ride.
Well, hey, it would not have been the same without you ending. Dude, this is our last day of BBA.
I couldn't skip it.
Couldn't do it.
Especially when this guy's here.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, Kyle.
Yeah.
This is not what the doctor was saying about take it easy. Hey, when do you have surgery?
Thursday, 2 days.
Yeah, 2 days. Uh-huh. How is your leg even working?
You can't really, it really hurts until you're, how's Vin Diesel say it, about 8,400 RPM? Everything else kind of goes away.
Hey, Kyle.
Huh?
I wish we could describe to people where you're stuck right here. It took everything I had with a boost and 2 legs to make it up there, and here you are on a goddamn stock. It must be that coat. That's my lucky coat. Jeez, dude, you are an effing animal.
I needed to go wrong foot forward here. I just didn't.
Except you don't have another wrong foot. No, your mom is gonna kill you. Okay, so you have surgery. I get to talk to you a little bit after the surgery, and it wasn't perfect.
No, it wasn't. I had surgery and that next day trucked home from Colorado to Minnesota, which was a pretty long drive, and it was
Your mom came out, right, for the surgery.
Yeah,
and
my
then
mom
helped
and
to
my
get
girlfriend.
back.
Yeah, and they hauled me back, but that was kind of miserable of a ride, to be honest. And anyway, got back and things were feeling okay. It wasn't like unbearable or anything like that. And then after like 2 days, I really blew up swelling and started kind of getting a little bit nervous. So I reached out to the doctors and then started going in and ended up, it was pretty bad and got a draining and like they do like an x-ray, like a live x-ray and like go into certain pockets and pull a bunch of fluid out. And so just dealing with that and it was so swollen and there was just so much pain with it. It was like honestly hard to do anything like without passing out. So that part wasn't very fun, but it took, and then trying to do like the PT things early, like seeing the goals and the milestones I should have been at, like at the certain weeks was really frustrating because like that initial part and then that break on the tibia really slowed down the ACL, the things you're supposed to do to like right after surgery for your ACL, because that's kind of like the most important one. If that tightens up, it's really hard to get back. And I definitely got to that point where like I was getting to things at the 2-month mark that I should have been at the 1-month mark. And then that's really annoying, you know, and I dealt with a lot of that. Started going to some different doctors, going some different places, which was better help. And it's just another way to look at it and do some different things. So you can kind of do 2 things at once. But yeah, it mentally, like just to be slowed down to that level is challenging. It's one thing like when you break a bone and like in 6 weeks, you're like, oh, I'll be good. And like 6 weeks flies by for the most part. But it's been a long time, you know, and like not like getting out of a truck. Like I think it was 3 months before I could like get out of the truck without like having to do this with my leg, you know, because I couldn't get it bent enough. But that is what it is. A lot of people have had worse, but I don't know. It's tough to be slowed down that far.
Yeah. And, you know, I think, you know, Blaine, have you ever had, what's your worst injury?
My shoulder. I had a ladder J operation on my right shoulder. I dislocated it for years playing hockey and then finally got to the point where I couldn't lift my arm above my head. Like it was bad. They went in there and they're like, oh yeah, you need to have a, you know, pretty standard surgery. And I actually went and played a hockey tournament a couple days before my surgery, and I got tripped on a breakaway. So you guys
are both dumb.
I got tripped on a breakaway and fell on that shoulder and ended up breaking the cup that holds the socket in. And they went in for surgery for orthoscopic, and the doctor looks at it, and he's just like, and I was under, I didn't know this. He's like, is this the same patient? Like, this is a totally, like, way worse injury. So they ended up doing a completely different surgery that they had planned on.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, we're a lot alike in that way.
I'm giving you guys shit, and as I'm staring at the picture behind us, on one hand I'm wearing a regular glove. On the other hand, I'm wearing this huge glove that's over my wrist brace because that year that you had to cart me off the mountain because I ended up flipping the sled upside down on me, which my wrist is a little pissed this morning. I need to stretch it. I haven't done that yet. But so anyway, I tore the ligament, but that year was an incredible snow year. And so I should have fixed it right after like guide season.
Yep.
But it was so killer snow that I rode until June, literally. And then I'm like, well, I won't be able to pull my bow back. And I have to go to Chile. So then I went to Chile, and then and then what happened is right after Chile, I ended up coming back to get it fixed. And same thing, when I got it looked at the first time, he's like, okay, well, it looks like you tore your ligament. But we can fix it. By the time I got back in, he looked at it. Well, no, this is what happened. 10 minutes before I'm scheduled for the surgery, the doctor comes in and he's like, hey, just for a plan B, if I go in there and I'm not able to attach it, are you good with me just like cutting it out and like cutting around some of the pain nerves? And I'm like, I don't know. What would you do? He's like, I'd probably do that. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, you're the doctor here.
And so sure enough, he gets in there. It's all destroyed, nothing left. And it would have been fixable if I just would have gone and did it right away. But I don't know. The pallet was probably worth it. So, all right. So what I was kind of trying to bring that back to is, I haven't had something that has laid me up like that. And I think from the physical side of things, that's just what it is. Like you're having to deal with it. I can't imagine, with how we all are, the mental side of things was probably tougher than the physical, wasn't it?
I'd go after a few weeks. I'd crutch to the shop, and I can still do stuff at the shop, whether it's repair tools or clean things up or do whatever. But like literally, I could just be, up. Like working at a workbench, and like I could just feel my knee just like 10 psi, 20 psi, 30 psi, and I'm like, at 40 I gotta go, and like literally just going back to my house at 10 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock and just like sitting there, turning the TV on, like just watching my knee, and just because like mentally you just want to go, but and then like if you did, you paid for it big time, and that was the biggest thing I found with this. Like when I was recovering from my shoulder, I felt like, oh, yeah, I overdid it a little bit yesterday. And you could, by that day, though, you were just a little bit sore, but you could do the same things. With my knee, I was finding, if I overdid it, where I was at in my mobility, it'd take me a week to get back there again.
Wow.
And not from, going and running a marathon. I'm talking just from, just letting it go a little too far, swell a little bit too much, and it would take a week to be able to move it as far as you did the next day, or getting your quad to lock up. If you overdid it, that's a big thing. You can't even lock your quad. It just sits there and kind of twitches. You could sit there and stare at it for 10 minutes just trying to lock it, and you could just get it to twitch every once in a while. So that was tough, very tough for me to ride that line, because it's easy to just say, oh, screw it, I'll get this done and I'll be better to it tomorrow, but it doesn't you're not just in the same spot the next day. You can go backwards way quicker than you can go forwards.
Well, so yeah, the mental side of things, and I think that was probably we give you shit about not texting us back or calling us back, but I put myself in your shoes, and it's it's easy to go to that place where you're like, I need to figure this out. I want to be left alone. I wish I was better. I'm not super happy right now.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a spot I was in for sure. I don't know. It, like you said, it's tough to know too, because I'm asking myself some same questions because I don't know where the heck I'm at.
Yeah, and you have everybody asking you, how you doing?
Yeah.
Well, not that great.
I have no idea, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know. And that, taking doctors' words for it, it's certain things, the internet's the worst thing you could do.
Oh,
man. You type in a hand cut and you got blood cancer,
Yeah.
But I'm doing a bunch of research on the internet too to make sure I'm not just getting filled full of crap from the doctors, and finding where people are oh, I was Adrian Peterson was literally playing football 6 months after surgery, and it's I am not playing football 6 months after surgery, especially at a professional level.
Yeah, you're also not Adrian Peterson.
Well, I don't care. But you get my point. At 6 months, I was I could probably stand up off the toilet without favoring both my right leg. It's that. So seeing them other things, and then just trying to put yourself kind of in the best spot, but still work, and it's tough.
There's a fine line between pushing it too hard, because you want to, if you just sit there and don't do anything, you're not going to get better. But if you push too hard, you're going to set back even further.
Yep.
There's a fine line between there of getting your PT done and working out and getting that stuff done, but not pushing too hard.
Yep.
Well, I see you walking around here, seem pretty good. Obviously, there's some things that you favor and some things. So, where are you at right now?
I feel so actually last week I was at Synectics in Minneapolis doing just some strength testing to like compare both legs. And there was actually a couple functions above the knee that I was stronger than my right leg. But the knee like extension and flexion below my knee are like, my worst one was 56% weaker, which would be like the kicking motion, which is like where all that pressure is from the graft that they did and stuff. So that's the biggest one I need to work on. And the biggest thing I worry about is like being wrong foot forward, hitting something, and like just buckling my knee just because it's weak, you know, like the motion of stepping up on top of something is what, there's like a hinge point in there where it just doesn't feel good. So I don't know if it got there and you hit a bump or something, I don't know.
Does it feel like in certain movements that it wants to hyperextend?
No, I honestly think that's clean. Like the exercises I do a lot of like the snapping through, like to straight, and that feels really good. It's more so like when you get at that probably 30 to 45 degrees where it's just super unpredictable and I just don't have much control there. And I think it's a strength thing that's lacking. I don't think it's like a mobility issue. Like I mean, I can go and bike as hard as I want for 45 minutes and like that's fine. It's more so just like that control, that slow control and that heavy load is what makes it just feel really unpredictable.
Well, good thing you're good at riding neutral most of the time. Well, kind of joking aside there, you know, this has been for all of us, we've all been kind of like, you know, what does the future hold for Kyle? I'm sure, and you and I have had some pretty good conversations, right? Just life in general and plans. And you're, how old are you now? 26. Yep. So getting old. I am still old enough to be your father. But you know, it really led to some decisions for this year that are pretty exciting for you. Your role here at BBA is a little different for this year, which is exciting, pretty awesome. You know, so why don't you talk about you know, some of the things that have come up, the plans and opportunities that you know, for this year for us, and just what your goals and ambitions are for the season.
So, you know, like over the past few years, this is part that we can't really show, but we can kind of talk about. Like we've worked a lot, and you have forever worked a lot with like engineering and development with Polaris, and kind of I've built a relationship with them, just doing a lot of the leg work or whatever you want to call it, like because we're on the snow so much, and that side of things is kind of transferred into the racing side, where they need some help there too, on the not just from working on stuff, but getting things dialed and trying some new things. And you know, there's such a short window for hill climb prep, and then like racing's here, and it's really hard because it's kind of all over the place, and there's not really a designated test team or like the infrastructure there is behind like a snow cross or cross country type racing. So they were looking for a little bit more help with that side, just kind of having a guy with the tools and the stuff to kind of, and that's going to be at the races already. And Darren Gould is a guy that has been doing that for years for Polaris, and he's like an absolute rock star. He shows up, I mean, for 4 days every weekend, and like I don't know how many hour days. I mean, they don't end really. I mean, you get a few hours of sleep, and he's, you know, grinded hard, and it's just the workload's gotten to the point where it's just they needed more help. So me kind of being there, like I was able to jump in and help, you know, the way it was. And then not like this summer, they kind of approached me and asked me if I'd be interested in helping kind of more on like a legitimate basis or whatever.
Like actually getting paid?
Yeah. Like, yeah. Like actually getting paid and like structure it right. And, you know, we could even do more with it, with like more, like just more organization and that type of thing. So I'll be doing a lot of that with the race team just at the races, and then them that day before of the prep, usually before every race, and a couple trips like I've already done too. Like instead of like with engineering and development, like we've gone and we tune with them for a day, or we ride the sleds. Once they get pretty close and stuff, they'll utilize us to kind of see just get another opinion on it. So doing stuff with them, with the race team, and, you know, building sleds, building the new mods and stuff, and getting to go up there and just kind of get my feet wet on seeing how everything works. So that's kind of opened a new door for me.
So just to recap real quick, what he's talking about is, so over the last 3 weeks, Kyle's been up in Roseau, Minnesota at the Polaris facility, back behind the closed curtains, building some badass new shit for the hill climb team.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And then I'll get
he was sugarcoating it, and I'm like, dude, you were like, people don't get to do this, right? And you're in the fab shop, you're learning, like, you know, that's the coolest thing. And I've had the opportunity to go up to the factory many times, and every time I go there, it's just, I'm blown away by, like, dude, there is so much stuff going on here.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the consumer sees these snowmobiles as the end result, but everything behind the scenes and, like, future stuff and things that, like, well, let's try this, and you see the pile of, like, things that they tried that didn't work, and then like, you know, being in that as a snowmobiler is about as cool as it gets.
Yeah, for sure. Like, getting to that side's always been very entertaining to me, or whatever the word, intriguing, I guess the word would be. I hate riding a snowmobile that doesn't run. Like, I get on it, it actually makes me mad, like a snowmobile that doesn't run right. So kind of like, I don't know if that's kind of what's led me to where I'm at and what I'm doing. I don't really know, but it definitely is pretty, like, surreal kind of being back there and getting to be a part of all of those things, and the way, and just to see the way, like, that big of a business works. And that part's really interesting to me too, because it's just like, how in the world does everybody here know what they're doing, and who is taking care of all this? And there's obviously people, because everybody's busy and things are happening. I mean, cool things come out the door. So and also seeing the way that they problem solve, because I mean, at the end of the day, that's really what they're doing. Like, if you take a 2013 snowmobile, it's like, what is the problem and how can we make it better? Like, even if there's not a realistic problem, it's like, why is this wrong and we need to make it, like, better? And just seeing the way they all tackle that, and how things can go from an idea to, like, the, like, mock-up stage and what that looks like, to, like, the final product, what that looks like. I mean, they're huge steps. And, you know, there's a million in between, but, like, the 3 main steps are, it's cool to see and be a part of, and, like, see some things, like, some ideas come forth that just, I mean, were horrible ideas, but nobody's afraid to try anything. So it's not like just trying to hit home runs. There's a lot of little things going on.
Well, that's a little bit step one, but I'm going to bring this back one more time. And, you know, if we could rewind the clock on that day that you were riding, and, you know, you listen to those 2 little things, right? Like, my sled wasn't even hot. I wish I wouldn't have dipped a ski. I wish I would have listened to Andy and just taken the 5 minutes and put the ski rubber in. That's fine. But I'm telling you, the reason that you got this opportunity, because I know firsthand this is true. So you're gimped up. You can't race Jackson, but you go show the whole Polaris crew that's there who you actually are and how much of a value you are by what you did in the pits. And that was your audition that you didn't even know you were auditioning for. And that was meant to happen. And it sucks about the knee, but the knee will get better. Yeah. And it opened up these doors. And I won't forget. And I joke about this to the Polaris guys now, but at the time I was a little hot, because I walk into a meeting and I see Nels and Darren sitting there, and I'm like, uh-oh, what are these 2 guys doing in the same room with me? And Darren comes in, and he fires right away, and he's like, so we got some plans with Kyle this year. And I'm like, okay. So you're stealing him from me. That was basically what I said. You know, that was the selfish me reaction first. But then, you know, after getting to talk to you and getting to talk to them and you know, really figuring it out, it was like, it makes me proud, right? It makes me proud that someone who came here in 2017, stayed at the Best Western because didn't have money, asked if he could come in that night and help me change A-arms, and I was appreciative of that. That kid is now, someone who is going to play a vital role in the success of the Polaris Hill Climb team, the development of future sleds, and that all came through, through BBA and what you're going to be able to do to them and what you're going to be able to bring back to to us, and and you and I have had some pretty awesome talks. Like, you're like, hey, I just wanted to let you know I'm always going to be a part of BBA in some capacity, and that means a lot. Like, and so like I was telling everybody listening today that Kyle's role has changed a little bit to give him the flexibility to do have a pretty awesome opportunity. So we've got the hill climb side of things. You've been here in November and now December, plugging away, building sleds. It's awesome to see, and I always try to make sure I don't burn you out on the building sled side of things, but you really do love it and enjoy it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, like to that. To like what you were saying about like the BBA thing too, it's like if I could be in two places at once, that's that's where I'd want to be. But like being able to like you giving me the flexibility to kind of have that hybrid role and be able to do that, because with that too, like individually, that's extremely rewarding to me to like go and ride a sled and then ride a sled that runs really good and like do those things, and then help people get their stuff running right and work on their stuff too is rewarding as well. And just kind of like, I don't know, like there really is no plan in life. Like when people ask you what you're going to do or where you're going to be, like, I mean, none of this was planned, I don't think, like,
Sure.
Where the direction you want to go or what you want to do. But at the end of the day, you just kind of roll with what you got. And that's kind of where I'm at, just kind of doing some different things, and it'll put me in some more spots. I want to cover some more ground and ride with some more people and do some things that I've kind of I've always wanted to do, but it's tough with the schedule here to kind of get around and do those things. And I don't live here, and I'm from Minnesota, obviously. So like to me, like I talk to you'd go to Andrew, who works here, and be like, Andrew, you should, dude, Afton is sweet. You should ride there once. He's like, no, I don't care. They're like, Andrew, we need to go back to Grizzly. He's like, yeah, I don't want to go to Grizzly. He's got a kid, and a wife, and I'm not at that point yet. So
Yeah.
There's just like in the next 5 years, it kind of just want to do some traveling, and see some things, but still at the same time, I ready to come back down here at certain times when it works, and I mean, do what we do.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that's, we had that conversation, and Blaine, you've had the luxury of being able to, well, shoot, I've never even ridden Revelstoke. You've been to Revelstoke. Yep.
Multiple times. It's one of the best places to ride.
I know that. Okay.
You should try it sometime.
Well, I should. We all should, right?
Yeah.
But I know that's something that that's one of the things that created your identity and your name. I'm like, who is this guy anyway, right? And you were traveling around doing photo shoots and guiding, and you had from a balance standpoint, you were doing it all. You were working at a dealership, you were working at a guide place, you were being able to go off and kind of make a name for yourself, and then you stumble down here to BBA.
Yeah, I mean, kind of tied into what Kyle just said. It's like, I never would have imagined I'd be working here, but just the little jobs and working here and there and kind of tying it all together. It's like I've always had a passion for snowmobiling.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Like I moved to Breckenridge in I think 2006, and all my really good friends were amazing snowboarders, skiers. Some of them were even in the Olympics and professionals. And I was like, I love snowboarding. It's fun, but I will never be a professional. I'll never be on that level. And actually, one of my best friends, Tyler Houghton, and I bought 2 Ski-Doo Revs in 2007, And man, we thought we were the coolest kids ever, like going out in the backcountry, having a great time. Like, look at all these suckers on the ski lifts, like waiting in line. And now it's just gotten so much crazier and busier. Like, Breckenridge is Disneyland. Like, you wait in line for like an hour and 45 minutes to get one run. And we're lucky to be able to do this for sure. And I'm definitely grateful to have you back, Kyle.
Thanks.
In the shop here, it's awesome. Like, I can't remember how many times I've been flipped off in the last 2 weeks, but it's been a lot.
Yeah.
But we're grateful to have you back.
Thanks.
Yeah. So you've got some hill climb stuff. You're going to be working with the photo shoot guys up in Afton.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be really awesome. That's been something that's been needed a lot. I'll get to see you up there, which will be pretty cool. So we're going to be shooting the model year 25 stuff here in just a few weeks, which is, I love that part. So that'll be neat. And then, so January, you're kind of on the road, right? January is a really, really busy time.
Yep.
February, March, you'll be kind of bouncing between hill climb stuff. Going to try to snag you down here for some of our groups that you're like, there's no way I'm going to miss some of those guys. And hopefully, right, the leg is in a position where you feel comfortable where you can get out and ride.
Yeah, and that's what I need to be really smart with too, because I plan on also racing again this year.
Yep.
But I'm only going to, like, you can't compete unless you're good.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to push myself into that, especially to prevent another injury. So if I've got to take it easy, and just, support and ride in the backcountry and do those things until I'm good to race, that's what I'm going to do. But for now, that's my goal anyway. Especially I want to be ready to rock and roll by Jackson again.
Yeah. Yeah, I think and that's what's awesome. And we talked about this a bunch, you and I, of just having goals, right? And not only goals for like, it's awesome for you to have that goal of like, I want to be ready for Jackson, right? And that's something to work for, to attain. But really, I think the biggest thing is, it gives you that motivation, and not, we're self-motivated people anyway, but, like yesterday morning, you were on the spin bike at 6:30. Last night, you were doing whatever you were doing on the knee after a long day of work. And we talk about this all the time, right? It's so easy to go the easy way. And it takes a little bit more effort, both mentally and physically, to do it the hard way, but the reward at the end is so much better on that side of things. And so, I'm excited for you on that front. We haven't got to get on the snow yet this year, but we've already made plans. Thursday, I'm hoping next Thursday is the day that we can, because here's I know you love building sleds, but you also like getting them on the snow and making sure that they are, what we all expect them to be.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's take a few minutes. So that's Kyle's still alive. He's still a part of BBA. He's got a lot of really cool things going. Blaine and I, we've been stacking all the projects for Kyle when he gets here, and I promise you, every time you come back here, you'll be like, yeah, I knew this was coming. We'll save the bent tunnel jobs for Kyle. He's a pro at those.
Experience,
yeah. But let's talk about real quick, guys, and people love hearing this, what we're riding for our personal stuff this year. Kyle, you have 19 snowmobiles I've seen. You might need a bigger trailer.
I do need a bigger trailer. They're impossible to find.
Yeah, they are, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So you've got your hill climb fleet basically that you're getting ready, and then your personal sleds. Blaine, I'm going to ask you too what you're doing on yours, but what do you got?
The hill climb side of things is very, what would be the word? There's got to be a word for it.
Expensive?
Expensive is a good word. Thanks, Visa. But there's a lot to get a hill climb sled ready.
It's tedious.
Even when it's a stock class sled, you got.
You spent 2 hours putting belting on the frickin' belly pan yesterday.
Yeah. You got you got to brace your skid and cut and screw your track and put tunnel protectors in, and it just kind of adds up. You do your suspension and all that stuff, but the mods are very modified, like small gas tanks. You get ditch a lot of the things you don't need. small little oil bottle. Motor work from the bottom to the top. And then you're running stuff on really high octane race gas. So getting everything mapped right and adjusted and stuff like that for that is another big chore. But that stuff's that. As far as the backcountry goes, I throw some exhaust on, like a lightweight silencer. I run a Diamond S, and then throw a Skins lightweight hood on, and that's really all I do to my backcountry stuff. Obviously, tunnel bag and handlebar bags and stuff like that. But like
clutching, hood, Diamond S silencer,
and a DuraPro tether. I love a DuraPro tether.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much all for me on my back. Just because I don't know the simplicity of it, and then like the racing rules, like the racing deal, like you can't in stock classes you have to run stock handlebars like to a T, and then like you have to run the stock seat, and you have to run like a lot of the stock shocks and like a lot of that stuff. So I relate my backcountry sleds very similar to that, and just kind of build them the same way without all the bracing and the other things. But so that's really my sled builds are pretty minor nowadays. But like my boost sled, I'll build a 900 boost, a Carl's motor and stuff like that, and build a fast boost sled. But that's pretty much it for me.
Cool. Blaine, what are you going to be rocking this year? 2 sleds.
Yeah, I got the 165 boost and a 165 9R. And last year I ran the 850 stock boost, and that thing was an animal.
Yeah.
Like, it was so much fun. And I would be running that again this year unless I saw that little carrot dangling in front of me, this Carl's 900. And if I didn't work here, I wouldn't do it. But, man, I can't wait to get on that 900 and get that thing built, because, just watching you on that Fox sled, and that thing's an animal, and it's going to be a fun build. I kind of caught the bug from you where it's like, all right, I'm just going to do something little here, and then shocks and brake lever. Next thing you know, I'm like, oh, yeah, full carbon skid, 900, big bore boost.
Well, and we guys, we talk about this all the time, and we're in here and we have customers always asking us, what should I do? Right. And we Blaine and I, and Blake, actually, we did a pretty fun podcast, our first one of, the essentials and the must-haves that we have. And Kyle nailed about 5 of them right off the bat, right? It was the Diamond S, a DuraPro, a Skins hood, some clutching, those are the things that and that's what we do consider a stock snowmobile.
Yeah. We're really just doing some things that legally they can't do.
They can't do, right? So they would love to have a 4-pound silencer, but they can't, right?
Yeah. And then the hood deal, it's like adding a little bit of storage, getting the weight lower, and just some little things like that. But it's really just convenience things at this point. Yeah. Somewhat, and that's what's pretty cool about them.
But and I guess what I'm bringing this all back to is the only reason that we are literally riding stock snowmobiles that exceed the potential of any of the riders out there right now is because of what we have done on the mod side of things forever. Mm-hmm. We have short tunneled factory boost sleds that run on pump gas.
That's amazing.
And that was a pipe dream in 2016.
Yeah.
It's
what you said, yeah, that's realistic. Like then?
No,
I know. Yeah.
No. And so I want people to understand and know, do we run if you look at my snowmobile, yes, it is completely torn apart and we've taken a lot of stock stuff off, but what we're putting back on is to keep pushing the manufacturers and the OEMs to not just rest, right? We had a 1990 Indy 500 and a 1995 Indy 500 were the same, or for a 10-year gap, the Indy didn't really change. We can't do that now. We have to continually push, and our push here and at BBA has always been try to get things lighter and easier to ride, right? And that's why Polaris and Polaris really believes in that as well, which is awesome. We do have the lightest sled. I know they they work every single season, and their goal is always to like, what can we do to make things lighter and better and more efficient and easier to ride? And so like, you know, and I think that's the beauty is, do we love building mod sleds? Heck yeah. But Kyle and I were talking about this the other day. I think literally like my favorite day last year was our model 2024 shoot, and we were literally on I was on we were switching sleds that day, but I rode the majority of the day on a 165 Boost 325. Big surprise. I'm like, okay, Kyle, you're on this one. But you know, Kyle was riding a 9R 155 Chaos that just fits his style, and like literally, dude, it was, you know, we'll post that. I'm scheduled to post this week. That was one of the gnarliest days. Like, if you're watching that video, and it's kind of like what I've been thinking of, the body of the post is going to be like, you know, the only way you can do these things is to ride a mod sled like this, and then mod list below. And it's like stock 165 325 Boost with stock everything, right? Mm-hmm. Like, the sleds are so insanely capable right now. But what's awesome is, like what Kyle said, there's things that the manufacturers just aren't able to do from a cost standpoint, from a legal standpoint. And that's where it does give us some room to keep pushing the industry. And, you know, that's why we end up where we do on the mod side of things. Mm-hmm. So, well, guys, this has been a lot of fun. It's been great catching up with Kyle. You know, pumped to hear of the new opportunities, and you know what it's going to be able to do for you, and how it's going to help Polaris, and how it's going to help BBA, and in the end it helps just a lot of people. And I know you're just you probably don't think of it that way, but I do. It's a great opportunity for everybody, and you know, I know you'll work hard. That's not even a question. And you know, we're all going to benefit from that hard work. And Blaine, man, we're getting close to wrapping up the intensity and insanity of, you know, the preseason of BBA.
Yeah.
I tried to warn you. This is, and you've been here for just over a year now. And then this year was a whole nother level.
Yeah, you had to give away a free snowmobile, so that kind of turned things up for the last 3 weeks here in shipping and receiving.
It sure did. You know, but you know, Blaine, and you know, like we talk about, there's this period of time is like, holy cow, this isn't. I don't know if this is what I signed up for, but it goes by quickly. We've learned a lot.
Absolutely.
You and I, it's awesome.
Yeah.
We were having conversations yesterday of like, dude, this is like, we have some sustainability for this level, but there's some things that we need to put in place where we can do a great job of servicing this amount of people, because we really do, like what we talk about, guys, all the time, is the stock sleds are so awesome. It's really easy to screw them up versus making them better, and that's what we all take a lot of pride in, is like making sure that, hey, you don't need like all of this junk, but these couple little trinkets and gadgets, these like really will make your experience better on the snow. And with that, like, I mean, we're 3 weeks away from being on the snow just about every day guiding, which is the second fun part about this job.
Yeah, talk to me in about 2 months. I'll be like, man, I'm ready to get back to packing boxes, get off the snow
to customers.
for a day.
Yeah. Well, awesome, guys. So in the meantime, I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast, getting a little caught up with what Kyle's got going. Blaine, great to have you in on another one. And then,
happy to be here.
Yeah, we'll be knocking out a couple more here before Christmas, before Kyle leaves, so we can make sure we keep this train rolling. So,
yeah, maybe you can tell us about Area 51 and at Polaris. Give us some insights, what you saw.
I think I'm a little early yet.
Yeah.
I might get canned if I let some of that stuff loose.
You're not going to tell everybody about the hybrid turbo?
The what?
Hybrid, electric, Tesla.
The electric
triple,
runs on dinosaur pee.
All right. I will let everyone know they're bringing back a triple in the Matrix chassis, and it's a turbo.
We'll have to stay tuned for the next
With triple
podcast.
pipes.
With triple pipes. All right. Well, awesome. I hope you guys enjoy. And for all of you who are wishing for more snow, we are as well. Let's get that snow train cranking, and that's all I want for Christmas. So that's an easy one on the wish list. So until next time, enjoy.